Good morning or good afternoon, social media friends and business partners. For today's episode, I benefited from asking one of my neighbors and friends who I've come to know over the past several years to share some time with me so that I and also you can learn a little bit more about what he does, what motivates him to serve the general public. So, without further ado, let me ask Kevin Graff to come into the studio. So, 1 second. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
I am good. Thank you for sharing your time with me and with us today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. So, if I may, for as long as I've known you, as a neighbor, and because we also share another thing in common, which is we're both dog parents to small breed dogs, so we see each other often enough for obvious reasons. I wanted to lead off today's episode asking a question that I'm curious to hear about, and I believe probably many of my audience members want to learn more about what does Kevin do. So, can you describe what you do at a major food supplier distributor business?
Sure. I work in the IT space. I'm currently a solution architect, managing solutions in our order management space, which is basically handling processing of food orders from restaurants, hospitals, chains like Subway. From the initial start of the order that the customer says, I want these 5 products, all the way through to shipping of the product, which also includes part of our ERP system as well.
Okay.
But that's what I'm doing now. So I develop solutions. I didn't start there, obviously. I've been with this company for over 30 years now, and yeah, it's a long time. And so we developed this system over 30 years ago. I came in early on with this order management system, and so it was written on mainframes, mainly in COBOL. Yeah, okay. I said COBOL. It's not dead after 60 years. And there's still a lot of companies that use it. Matter of fact, I think it's like 80% or 90% of the worldwide transactions that are in person go through COBOL programs, one way, shape, or form. Something like ATMs, the banking industry, the back end processing, because they have the horsepower. It's not to say that servers and things like that don't have it, but the main driver right now is trying to not get rid of it, but migrate from those older technologies like COBOL into more modern technologies like Java, Ionic, .NET, using HTML, CSS, and things like that. And so we dabble in all of that at the company. Not dabble, we actually develop a lot of that in the company. I'm very proud of our space that we've maintained and enhanced over the years. And having the hand in the code is just, that's a passion. I'd say I don't get to do it a lot, but when the opportunity presents itself, it makes you smile, saying, okay, I'm creating something, that somebody's going to use.
Oh yeah. So what you're telling me is when I, as a consumer, walk into a Subway and I'm ordering what I'm ordering, a lot of what's driving that consumer experience is the stuff that you and your team create.
Yes, indirectly, yes. It's more, those are the front end point of sale devices, but ordering the chips, ordering the vegetables and all of that, that's that bread and butter of real time, being able to say, hey, and I'm going to get it tomorrow. Similar to what, Amazon has perfected, quite honestly, when you look at what they've done.
True. How they've perfected, given our need for instant gratification, we want it today, and for some products, it shows up later that day or next day prime, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah.
How has technology, Kevin, for as long as you've been with US Foods, in your opinion, how has technology changed that business? Can you speak to that?
Well, I think technology is really, it's about change and transformation and making our customers' lives easier. And that customer could be an internal or external customer. One thing that really comes to mind is real-time reservation,
Right.
and being able to see inventory and say, that we're coming low on stock on something, and, getting your order in early because it's first come, first serve, in that sense. And, going back to when the system was developed back in the early 90s, that wasn't heard of at that point. And it was really revolutionary, in that sense of being able to do real-time reservation and be able to say to your customer, okay, you're going to get that, and you're going to get it tomorrow, and it's going to be correct and on time.
Right.
So I think that's really moved the needle. And, companies like Amazon, UPS, FedEx, with deliveries and things like that, and being able to go next day on things, it's really taken it to another level. And
Right.
now we're in an environment, I think, that now is looking to what else can we do to make it easier. And
Right.
a lot of that has to do with partnering with them. Like when the pandemic hit, food companies, we took a 60% dip,
Right.
right away because of everything was closed. You
Right.
couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go to you could go to the grocery store, but you couldn't go to Subway because they were closed because we had stay-at-home orders and things like that. And so you had to look at ways to transform. And what we ended up doing was partnering with companies like Amazon and delivering to their stores. And
Wow.
because we still had procurement, we were still able to get things like toilet paper, and water and things like that, and
Right.
keep the hospitals going and some of the hotels, that didn't close, quite honestly,
Right.
and move forward that way. So it's been a definite journey,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years with certain things.
Yeah.
Um,
That's,
so
that,
it's exciting. I'm passionate about IT.
yeah. Well, that's one thing for sure. Technology is changing all the time. Technology seems to, for the most part, be focused on driving a better experience, making things more efficient, faster, and of course cheaper, right? Because without wasting too much time in the process, that's how you can squeak out more, cost savings and so forth. Now, I'm curious. Fast forward to right now with you and your team. How has either hybrid or remote work enabled all of you guys to be more productive? Can you share your thoughts on this?
Sure. I honestly believe it has. I'm fully remote now,
Okay.
since the start of the pandemic, but long before that, we had remote work all the way back into the early 90s, quite honestly, when we were dealing with not broadband internet, but we were dealing with dial-up modems and 4800, 9600 baud modems. We had remote. We had to support our customers. We had to work with them and their computers at that time. So, I must say that it's definitely come a long way in that sense, connectivity and access. But I can work whenever I need to. If I need to work at 8 o'clock at night or sit down because I have something that we need a solution for, and it comes to mind, it's like, oh, we can do it this way. I can sit down and do that at that point. Or I may get called.
Right.
And, I don't have to worry about driving into the office anymore. That's been years, but,
Yeah.
you used to have to go in the office to get to your computer. Well, now we have laptops, we have tablets, phones.
Right.
I can support customers from my phone. It's absolutely amazing in that sense. But I also think it's helped with the work-life balance as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Because, now, as we said, we have fur babies, and they're always right near me, and so they're on a schedule,
Yeah.
and they know when they want to go out. And so so that's a fun part about it. as well. Is that if I need to, I can get up, clear my head, go take the dogs out for a walk, and then come back in and be refreshed. And so I think that that's a real positive. And quite honestly, it's not that going into the office is a bad thing.
Sure.
It's just that my job I can do over Teams calls, I can do over Zoom calls now, and everybody's got video. Whether or not they show it or not, that's another thing. But it's great. So I must say that it's definitely helped me get a better work-life balance, because I'm an early person. So it's early in, and then I'm always there late. Now I can be up early, I can start working, and then I could still be working later, and actually work more hours, I think, now than I used to.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Pivoting and shifting gears a little bit, I think I know this, but enough of my connections may not know this. What led you, Kevin, to share your time in a different capacity to serve as our local park district president?
Well, prior to even getting into the park district and actually running for election for a park district commissioner, I served in the military, and I served in the Gulf War back in the early 90s and late 80s, and in the Army. And so I always have had from my parents the dedication and the drive to serve others. And my dad served in the military, so I think that's where it really started from. And then, in the early 2010 timeframe, we started having flooding issues in our town, more so than we had in the past. And I decided to get involved. Several people asked me, they said, why don't you get involved? So I started to get involved. I started to understand more about it. Being that my father-in-law was worked for the park district while he was, for 20 plus years in our hometown, I had that sense. And so I decided to run for park board, and was elected, and it's a 6-year term. And then just recently I got reelected in 2021 for my second term. So, I always relish the fact that the time that we spend and volunteer makes our community better and makes surrounding communities better. Because a park isn't just for our community, it's for all communities, and it's for all people, whether they're from Illinois or Ohio, Indiana, it doesn't matter. If somebody wants to come visit a park, they can, just like going down to Millennial Park, which is, part of the Chicago Park District.
Right.
Or the Ribbon, same thing, so I look forward to that. So I served as vice president for a couple of years, and then I decided to run for president. And the thing about president is you're appointed, every year we do this, and we appoint a president and a vice president, and you ask for consideration from your fellow commissioners. So it's satisfying that, they had the faith in me to be president, and be able to guide, quite honestly, the park district into beyond the 21st century.
Hey, we appreciate your sharing your time to do this, to lead from the front. I mean, on behalf of myself, Quina, and many of our neighbors who run into you almost every day, yes, we appreciate you committing yourself to do that for all of us as local residents. When you're not busy with technology at work, when you're not busy driving the vision of the park district, what are your other hobbies? I know a few, but why don't you share with us?
Sure. As you know, I like being outside. I think that's one of the things that also drew me to the park district. But I enjoy gardening. I enjoy working outside. I love taking care of the plants, planting flowers, and of course, mowing the lawn. I really enjoy that. It's not that my lawn can't be destroyed, because it is every year for Halloween. But I really, really enjoy taking care of stuff outside. It's just like, kids growing up. You see things start as a sprout, and then they grow into this blooming flower or tree or whatever it is. So I really like that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I'm an avid rollerblader. Even though, there's people that probably say I'm a little too aggressive, but I really enjoy that. I think along that aggressiveness is I like paintball. Number of years with my nephews, we'd go paintballing all the time.
Okay.
And then I'm an avid bowler as well. And I've actually bowled 2 perfect games over my years. Yeah. So it's been a number of years, but I have 2 perfect games, which is 12 strikes in a row or a 300.
Wow.
So it's actually harder to bowl a 300 than it is to hit a hole in one, surprisingly.
Right.
I think it's because you got to do 12 in a row rather than just hit one ball into a hole. Not that I've ever done that, because I'm not very good at golf, but
Neither am I.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think that's, those are the things that interest me the most, and that they're therapeutic too, I think, in some ways.
Yeah.
To get away from the other things and all the noise and stuff like that. So, and then of course, obviously walking the puppies,
Yeah.
and doing that. That's a given, doing that and playing with them.
Yeah, I hear you. My last question is, when you need to get into your zone, whether it be work related, right, technology, whether it be leading as Park District president, or when you're, getting into your zone because you've got the gold standard, in my opinion, the gold standard of your yard. What is that go-to song that motivates you?
So I'd have to say my go-to song to get me going is Fall Out Boy. And it's called Light 'Em Up is the short term. It's my songs, Know What You Did in the Dark. And I would say that that's one of those songs that really gets me going. There's many, I love all varieties of music, but, I like that upbeat tempo that song has. And it's a great song in that sense. So I'd have to say that would be it.
All right. So courtesy of your favorite song, let's hear it from Fall Out Boy. It does get you going.
Yep.
All right. Hey, I love that song too. And various songs with its rhythm and beat get you into a certain pace of motivating you to do something. So thank you for sharing what motivates you. So at this point, before we wrap up, let me now share a few words from our sponsor for today's podcast episode. So our sponsor today, in the spirit of Kevin Graff's history and the things that make Kevin tick, for if you are someone who has served in the military, someone who is now in the business of IT, whether it be traditional IT or applications, and or if you enjoy the beautification of local parks in your suburbs, this message from Planet Home Lending is this: when and if you need help financing your ideal dream home, think of us. We'll get you home. So Kevin, as we wrap up, I wanted to simply say, I've learned a little bit more about you than all of these times that we run into each other, walking our dogs, where I see you drive past in one of your many muscle cars, rollerblading, and also talking about the Park District, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your time. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you for listening into today's episode. If you don't know Kevin Graff, if you feel that you need to connect with him, you see at the bottom of our podcast screen his name. And certainly there's an easy way for you to connect with him through social media. So once again, audience members, thank you for listening in today. And thank you, Kevin, for sharing your time.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.